Hello everyone. So obviously Russia's campaign is not going according to plan. Seems they're inching forward. It does appear that they're getting inexorably closer to Kiev. But it makes me think of what General David Petraeus supposedly said at the beginning of the Iraq campaign. Tell me how this ends, because taking Kiev might be the easy part. All right, not that easy for Russia, but what do you do afterwards? But it begs the question of what more can the rest of the world do to save Ukraine from this brutal campaign? And I say brutal in the context of war. Yes, wars always involve killing people. I know that. But this is exceptionally horrific, even by the standards of a war. As in the indiscriminate bombings have killed so many civilians. You'd want to discriminate your bombings, as in be selective to try and hit a military target, to try and avoid civilian deaths where possible. You can't always avoid killing civilians, but to kill as few as possible and say, we could kill those soldiers, but actually we won't because there's too many civilians around them, so we're just going to leave that one. Hello there, Mr. Deininger. But there are more things that Western countries can do, especially warning Putin off using weapons of mass destruction. There's strategic ambiguity, saying that if you use any weapons of mass destruction, we will hit back. And we're not going to say, and I know you're going to deny it, but whether it's chemical, biological, or nuclear, we will strike back. And so not making it clear you're going to strike back militarily. Are you going to use WMD as well? Say military means that it might be WMD or that it will be WMD, but you only set a red line if you're going to enforce it, because these were set in Syria and Obama did not enforce that red line. So Putin broke it by an inch and more and more and more and test their resolve and deny it. No, we didn't do it. Or another thing is a not an inch policy. Say that, if a Russian plane flies, a military plane flies into NATO airspace, it will be shot down without warning. And even if the missile, when it strikes it, hits it when it's actually outside of airspace, we don't care. If any Russian warships enters NATO airspace, it will be sunk without warning. Why is the Azov battalion, 12,000 speakers, oh ha ha ha, what an outrageous slur. So the Azov battalion has been fighting, it's true, against Moscow-backed terrorists and the Russian army. Have they killed civilians? I mean, almost undoubtedly they have. They're always killed in conflicts. Obviously, mustn't be deliberately killed. If a member of the Azov battalion has purposefully killed a civilian, knowing him or her to be a civilian, not believing this person to be a threat, that would be murder. Killed Hungarian civilians? I don't know of a single one. The Azov battalion was fighting in the east of Ukraine. The Hungarian community is the very west of Ukraine. I would love to hear about it. It seems like an outrageous Kremlin hoax made up to distract from their own crimes. And saying that if Russian soldiers cross NATO frontiers at all, they'll be killed without warning, and that's it. Azov, not Azov, Nazi Germany mate, right? Really? How so? I'm not so. They kill Hungarians too. Cite me some examples of Hungarians they've killed. And I'm not foolish enough to think that everybody on the Ukrainian side is angelic. Life isn't like that. It's not that straightforward. The truth is messy. There will be bad people on both sides. No, you're making the assertion. It behoves you to demonstrate what you're proving is true. That's an extraordinary thing to say. 12,000 people killed. Now, obviously, military personnel have been killed or insurgents have been killed, but to say they killed civilians, and I don't doubt they could have killed some civilians when there's shelling. Yeah, sometimes it goes amiss, or you blow up a building where there are enemy combatants and there's civilians there. But if you decide to kill civilians, knowing that there are military personnel around, that's different. Okay. What would the response of Maggie and Reagan have been in our prime? If they're Ukraine or if they're Russia or what? Why don't we deal with the actual situation instead of drawing false analogies? Russia has attacked another sovereign state which has not aggressed it. Civilians, right? And you can't cite a single piece of evidence. This is risible. And Ukraine has not aggressed Russia, has not claimed an inch of Russian territory, has not fired a shot at Russia, even now hasn't crossed the border into Russia to strike back. And Russia is deliberately killing Ukrainian civilians every day. 80% of whom are Russian-tongued, as in Ukrainians. Well, I mean, most of them can speak Russian, some of them speak it fluently, and some of them native speakers of Russian. But just because you speak a language doesn't mean that you belong to a nationality that came up with that language. That's like saying that Americans are British just because they speak English. Language and nationality are not the same. Okay, a language can help a nationality, but it's not essential. India's got over 2,000 languages. No one says there's 2,000 nationalities. Anyway, so more hardcore sanctions could be threatened, so that if there is a WMD attack, that countries will not buy any oil, any gas, any coal right now, and that obviously will hurt the world economy. Any metals, any exports. No, Ukraine is a free and independent country, and which is, if it really is a U.S. puppet state, why there was complaint they don't get enough help. No, they don't do what the United States wants. They have an alliance. It's Russia tries to set up some puppet states like Luhansk, Donbass, Abkhazia, South Ossetia, Transnistria, and so on. Ukraine is recognized as a sovereign state by every country in the world, including Russia. Anyway, so yes, I did think about NATO putting more troops in there, or there was a build-up of 2,000 Russian troops on Ukraine's borders. So NATO say, well, you say that's not threatening. We're going to send 200,000 troops to carry out military exercise on Russia's borders. Anyway, and then Russia would have been worried about that and have to send more troops to other borders and away from Ukraine. And what else could I say? And selling no food, no medicines to Russia at all. Now that bit does seem harsh, because I thought people who actually need life-sustaining medicines then wouldn't get them. I mean, that would be Putin's fault. So I would have doubts about the refusing to sell medicine, impounding all Russian-owned property abroad. The trouble is that would hit innocent people as well as guilty people, and that's what war is, though. It hurts the innocent too. Anyway. So the next thing is, Russia's got about $300 billion of assets in NATO countries, part of their sort of national wealth fund, and those could be simply confiscated, not frozen, saying we're turning this into the Ukrainian Liberation Fund, and we're going to use this money to buy weapons for the Ukraine and to look after Ukrainian refugees. So that would hurt as well. I mean, smart sanctions, individually targeting really everybody in the Russian State Duma, Federal Council, and all identifiable FSB officers, military officers, and so on. There are lots of countries they couldn't travel to, more asset confiscations and things like that. Yes, Biden's son, he worked in Ukraine for Burisma. That doesn't make it a puppet state remotely. Nice try. So if a politician's son works in another country, that other country must be a puppet state. This is preposterous. There's no actual evidence being cited here. So that would damage the economy as well. There could be some sort of boycott, like anti-apartheid boycott of all sporting links, kick them out of the Olympics and stuff like that. It was a gross violation of the Olympic truce. You don't attack people during the Olympics, so people can travel freely to and from the Olympic Games without fear of harassment or molestation. That was going since ancient times, ancient Greece. Now, Russia attacked, I think, just after the Beijing Olympics finished, the Winter Olympics, but I think before the Paralympics had begun. So presumably they coordinated this to not annoy China too much. Good point. Putin's daughter works in the Netherlands. I suppose, according to this chap's rationale, the Netherlands must be a puppet state of Russia. Nice try. That was ludicrous and pathetic. How feeble. So thank you for watching. So please donate to me with the greatest liberality on Patreon. I'm going to show you my shoes next time. There's a great blog you should check out by a guy called David J. Saunders in the United States, who's helping people transition out of the US military, move to retirement. But more about that later. Bye.